Hey everybody! Today I am so pleased to be chatting to the amazing Karina Lade of karinalade.com. And our theme today is about trusting your gut. This is such a major thing for most of us, and entrepreneurs in particular, but pretty much everybody has this issue where they just don't really understand that connection with their gut instinct. Karina, would you like to tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do, what your expert field is?
Thank you so much, Zoe. I'm so happy to be here and to be part of your beautiful program and to finally meet you.
Yeah.
So I'm a channel and I'm an intuitive reader. I do intuitive mentoring. Like, intuition is kind of my thing, right? So
Yeah.
in everything I do, and actually in everything I've ever done, pretty much, even if it wasn't like officially about intuition, I've always kind of weaved that into what I do.
Okay.
Because it's such a big part of our lives. I think if we really want to have like happy, fulfilled lives and do what we love, then I think it's hard to do that if we don't listen to our intuition. So that's kind of my thing, and I've been observing and trying stuff out, and trial and error, right? Because we don't listen to our intuition and then we go, oh, I should have. I don't think, we never regret when we do. We always regret when we don't, because it's not very logical. It's that small voice that says, this is not a good idea,
Yes.
And they go, but I have logical reasons to do this. And then we keep pushing instead of because sometimes it's the uncomfortable lesson, isn't it? Or the uncomfortable choice. And so it usually we have lots of reasons not to listen to it. But when
Absolutely.
we do, it kind of, and it does grow with practice, because the more we listen to our intuition, the more it grows, and the more we trust our ability to receive the guidance. And that's when it starts getting really exciting and a powerful tool.
Yeah, absolutely. So what kind of work do you do with people generally?
Well, most of my clients are pretty experienced when it comes to intuitive work. Like, most of my clients are healers, they're coaches, they do some kind of energy work, kinesiology, or, there's so many techniques now, right, for energy work. So what happens is they usually listen to their intuition, and they do follow their inner voice. But it's when they start becoming really powerful in their work, and they start to really become, on the brink of being really successful, or they're super successful and they want to take it to the next level. So it's like all that kind of fine tuning and readjustments.
Yeah.
To really keep doing it, because the thing is, once you start because it's kind of like a superpower, and when you receive it, it's like, ooh, exciting. But then when it starts taking more and more space in our lives, that's when we have to kind of grow so we can embody it more. And then we have to become friends with things like power, having a really being really present. We have to be really grounded so we can actually do something with this powerful energy. And that, I think, and maybe especially as women, that's when we start feeling a little bit uncomfortable, and getting really clear on our boundaries, maybe not working with everyone, but really owning in on our perfect clients, and the ones that we know that we can really, really help, and like the perfect match, and not doing everything we can do, and not being everything to everyone. And that's when it starts becoming a bit tricky, because then we can't be nice all the time. We have to step into that kind of leadership role. And I think that's when it starts becoming challenging and but exciting.
So for example, if somebody is like just struggling to trust that part of themselves, do you have any kind of tips maybe?
I think a really key thing is to actually stop and listen, because sometimes we're running around and we're so busy. And I know that although this is my this is my work, right? To listen to my intuition.
Yeah. Yeah. None of us are perfect.
No, and it's like it's that kind of reminder, the constant reminder to actually stop. And every time I do that, the guidance is so clear. It's just that I stay busy, and I think we surround ourselves with a lot of noise. Like we talk a lot, we listen a lot, our space is so filled that our guidance can't come through. It's not that it's not speaking to us. It's like we don't stop, and we don't, stop talking long enough to actually hear it.
Yeah. And so often we're just even in that place of kind of talk to me, tell me what to do.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's exactly what I kind of talk to my clients about as well, is before you can even think of taking action on something, you have to tune in, you have to listen and become aware. And there's actually, I find, a lot of resistance to doing that. And, even myself at times, it's like, I don't want to listen, I just want to do stuff. I just want to get on with it. Yeah. But, yeah.
So true. It feels like we don't have time to listen, but when we do, we're so much more efficient. It's like, I don't have time to do energy work. Instead, I'm just going to spread my energy all over the place and do tons of stuff, but it's not working because I'm not aligned with what I'm doing. And so, because energy work doesn't have to take hours. It can take 10 minutes, but at the right time, it's crucial. So I guess we need to do that a few times before we can, we can actually get it.
Absolutely. Totally. Yeah. Over the last few years, I've learned so much about that and about how it works, not just from an intellectual point of view, because it's not really an intellectual thing, obviously, but much more from an experiential viewpoint. And from, this kind of work that I do with moving through all of the 5 energy bodies, of course. And the intuition is just, that gut instinct is such a crucial part of that. And I tend to find that it's the weakest one as well, because I think that people are really, it's invaluable for them to, to have that guidance, to help them get in tune with themselves. Because so often it's like, you can give somebody, you can say, well, you've just got to listen, or you've just got to kind of, meditate for a bit or whatever, but they still don't really quite, it takes practice, and it takes a bit of encouragement and support, and knowing that there's no right answer. Yeah,
that's true. And it does take some practice, because I guess once you get used to it, it feels like it's so easy. You just sit down and you meditate. But for someone who has a really busy mind and who doesn't have that daily practice, it takes some time. And expecting, because sometimes people expect it to be like spectacular, and it can be, but it's not always, right? And usually at the beginning when you start, it's not spectacular. Like most things when you first start out, it's like trial and error, and then just sitting there wondering what you're doing and why you're even doing that, and then getting over that and becoming more comfortable with whatever comes up. Because sometimes it's not our intuition that comes up the first. It's like like the fears or the patterns that we go over in our mind, or the stories we tell ourselves. And it's like we need to clear that a bit before our intuition feels we actually hear it. So I guess it's all kind of in layers, and there's one thing after the other. So just starting, like you said, not having expectations on like there's a right way, I have to do it right, it has to be right, like being the good, like the good girl and the good student, instead of just playing with an open mind, because it is that's when you kind of expand and you open up, instead of being like, gotta get this right.
Definitely. And I think it's also about allowing like letting go of the intellectual side of it as well, because we have such an attachment to that part of ourselves, and the ego and everything. But obviously just the idea that we've got to think about everything, and it's, do you know what I mean, rather than sink into it and be in our bodies and receive that. It's a different type of communication. I mean, how would you describe that? How would you describe that kind of communication?
I really like what you said earlier, a felt sense of something, because I guess it's different for everyone, but for me
Mm.
it's something that's felt in my body, usually physically, and my emotions, and then the energy of it. But it's
Yeah.
usually more feeling than thinking. And so yeah, and then it can be like images, but it's more like for your images inside your head. It's not like seeing something in real life, although that can happen. But it's like
Yeah.
it's like an inner seeing and feeling and sensing in a very large way.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah. I
know.
love that. Yeah, I'd agree with that, absolutely. Yeah. So then somebody coming in to the troupe and basically having a big vision for themselves, but obviously, they've got stuff associated with that they're a bit scared to move through. They're not, maybe, they've got some kind of blocks to clear and so on. How can their intuition and tuning into that really help them to move forward with confidence and purpose, would you say?
That's a great question. Because I think that's one of the key things about intuition, especially when it comes to creating things in physical life, a project or work or something like that. Because I feel that every time we come back into our hearts and into our intuition, feel things from the inside, it just clears the path in a really different way. Because that means that when you tune in first, if you should say yes or no to a project. If it's the right time to launch your project. If something's missing. You even know what to post on Facebook or on social media, or what to write about, because it's that thing that lights you up, and that you can feel the energy building, and that means that now is the right time, or now is the right time to take that step.
Yeah.
Every time we get away from that, that's when we start thinking, oh, I should do this because whoever we've seen online says that you should market like this, or you should create things like this. It's like we have our own truth inside, and every time we wander off, then we get confused and overwhelmed, and we start comparing ourselves to others. So I find that it's like that guiding light that brings us back to our path and back to our purpose and back to like who we are and why we're here. And when we have that guiding light and the connection with it, everything just flows from there. And also I find that it gives us extra support, so we don't have to push and try so hard. We just have to connect and then feel where the energy is right, do that, and there's one step, next step, and then there's we have a wave of energy and support that comes with us that makes everything so much easier. It's not always easy to get to that place or to come back to that place, but when we're in it, it feels like we're playing. It doesn't feel like work. It doesn't feel hard. It feels like it gives us energy. And I think that's like the magic of it. When we touch that, it's really fun and exciting, and we know that it's the right thing, and we don't get distracted by what's going on around us.
I love that. I so love that. It's such a perfect explanation, because it really is about that difference between something feeling hard and like you're pushing and kind of struggling all the time, versus it feeling easier. I'm so looking forward to having your input in the group, and just super, really excited. We start tomorrow. We start on Monday with the full moon. This is a fantastic time to be clearing out all of that old gunk and setting new intentions. Go to tinyurl.com/highflyerstroop and sign up right now. And you will get to join me and Karina and all of our other fabulous guest experts. So thank you again, Karina. And we'll see you in the group.
Thank you so much, Zoe. I'm really looking forward to connecting with everyone. And it's so important to take this time, I find, to get the support we need, right? Instead of struggling on our own, because it's that when we gather the energy between us, it's like we lift each other up, and that is invaluable. I think it's so important. And sometimes it's hard to ask for that support, but when we receive it, it changes everything.
Well, thank you, Karina. Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.